So welcome back to Tube Tales. Hi everyone. So in the last section we have learned about the default structure of React. So in this section we are going to learn how we can create our custom components, and then we will learn about class component and functional component. So let's get started and learn more about React. So as you can see, I have already created two components. One is header, one is footer. So let's check the definition what I have done in this both the component. Okay. जैसे आप देख सकते हैं दिस इज़ द हेडर कॉम्पोनेंट राइट. सो इन दिस हेडर कॉम्पोनेंट व्हाट आई एम प्रिंटिंग, I am just printing one message that is called this is header, so that I can know okay this is my header component. Okay, so how we can create the component, firstly learn that, and then we can see how we can import in our main component. So creating any component, firstly we need to provide the name of the component. जैसे हमारे केस में अभी header है component because I am just presenting how header looks like. Okay, so for that I have just putting the name of the component and the header, and जो भी बाकी की definition है, like जो भी आपको उस header component से चाहिए, that you need to put it in the return statement. So as you can see here I am passing all the definition whatever I want from this component in the return statement. This is a functional component, and how it works in the class component we'll study in detail when we talk about the class components. Okay, so I hope this is clear, like how we can create a component. Now why we are using this line, this is basically to export this component so that we can import in our main application. As you can see I have export this component, and then I am importing this component in my main component and then calling the component. Okay, so for importing we have to just provide the component name, and then we have to just provide the src, like where this component is located. So we have to just provide that, and then it is importing successfully, and then we have to call the component by using the name of the export method. Okay, similarly I have done for the footer component. I'll show you what is the definition of this footer.js. As you can see it is similar to header.js. So as you can see the name of the component is footer, and then we have a definition of the component, and then we are exporting it so that we can import in our main component and just calling. And the same structure like this is the way of calling the components. And if I go to my browser and check what is the output, this is the output. Whatever I have printed in my header component and the footer component, it is coming on the screen. And whatever the things I have written down in the return statement, basically it is coming on the screen in that way. Okay, so whatever the tags we want, whatever the layout we want, we can provide it in our return statement, and it will work in the same way. We can provide the class names, even we can have a different tags, whatever the HTML tags we have, we can provide that. So I hope the component structure is clear now, and how we can import and export those components to use in the another components. So let's see what is the difference between class component and functional component. Class component होता क्या है? Class component basically क्या करता है? It extends from react.component, and then it creates a render method and return the React element. Whereas functional component is a plain JavaScript function which returns the React element. There is no render method in the functional component. Let's see if with an example and see with the practical example how both the components works in React. Okay, this is class component. Let's see how I have created this class component. I have just provided the name of the class component, and then I'm extends the React component. Okay, and then we have a render method in the class component, and then we have a return statement, and whatever the information we want to print on our screen we are providing in the return statement. Okay, so this is an example of a class component, and similarly we have an example of functional component. Even we have created the example of functional component in header, where we are just providing the plain JavaScript function where we have just this header, and then we are providing the return statement without any render method. This is also a functional component, and I have created a functional component with arrow function as well, so that we can know okay how it works with the arrow function. So these are the things, like these are the difference between the functional component and the class component. So as you can see we have a constructor method in the class component. What it will do, it will help us to create all the properties which we want to use in the component in the constructor. So as you can see this dot state color blue. So here we are defining the property of this class component, that we have one property name as color and the value will be a blue. Now if I want to use this property in my component, I have to just use in this way, this dot state dot color. So it will print the blue in the class component. I'll show you. As you can see, I am a blue class component. So whatever the property value I am passing, it is just printing that value on the browser. Okay, we can change the color of this and it will just reflect those things as well. Now why we are using this super is basically used to inherit the properties of the parent component to the child component. जो भी properties अब हमने यहाँ पे अपने parent component में define की होगी, and when we are calling that component and we are passing those things, we can access those by using this super method. So this is the benefit of super. Similarly, we can do in the functional component. In functional component, to create the properties and the access the properties, we have to use some of the hooks. We will learn more about the hooks in the future videos. For now, we can see like useState is a hook which help us to create the property and set the default value of that property. So this is the color and set color, and then we are using the useState and the default value as a red, and then we are directly accessing the property value by providing the property name. Okay, and one more thing, if you notice, we are not using this here because we are using the arrow function, so we don't need to worry more about the this keyword in this method to access the properties. Okay, so if I go to the browser, you can see, okay, hi, I'm a red functional component. So here you can see the value of the state which we have defined in the functional component. I hope it is clear how class component access and define the properties and how functional component. So whatever the components we have created, we are just importing all those components in the parent component, and then we are calling all the components in the return statement. So have you noticed these two import statements? One is with the curly braces and one is with the without the curly braces. So please comment down and let me know in the comment section what is the difference between both the import statement. You can also check the definition. This is the definition of class component with using a curly braces, and this is the definition without curly braces. So let me know in the comment section what is the difference between both of the import statements. So as you can see here, we are just exporting without any default method, but in the functional component we are exporting with the default method. So whenever we are exporting any method without any default method, then we have to use the curly braces, and if there is already a default method in our component, then we don't need to use any curly braces to import that statement. I hope that is clear, like why we are using two different way to import the components. That's it for this video. In the next video, we will learn more about state and props and the lifecycle method which is supported in React. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon.